What's up, guys? So in this video, I don't know if I'm having an echo or something. I'm in a new room here in the library, so it's a little different, a little brighter lighting and stuff. So let me know in the comments if it's like weird volume and stuff. But in this video, I'm wanting to go over exactly what I think is best for, well, not what I think, what the differences are really of between online arbitrage, like sourcing your books completely online to sell your books back on Amazon, pretty much buying from Amazon to sell them back on Amazon, or thrifting, which is like going to thrift stores, picking up your books from thrift stores for really, really cheap and then selling them on Amazon, or bulk buying. So the one I have the most experience in online arbitrage. I have a lot of experience in thrifting, and I have only one experience selling bulk. So the first two I can really give you my own experience. The bulk one, just kind of what I've heard. So take that with a grain of salt. But online arbitrage, I'm for sure going to have a little bit of bias towards that because I'm obviously selling right now completely online. I'm buying all of my books using a tool called bookmine, which link in the description. You want to check it out. That's how I buy all my books completely online without ever leaving my house, and then turn around and I buy them on Amazon or eBay, and then I turn around and sell them back on Amazon. Excuse me. Now, thrifting, I started out thrifting, and I was watching the Rake and Profit videos and going there, scanning a whole bunch of books, buying them for $2 or sometimes cheaper from thrift stores, and then going home and selling them that way. Now, let's start with let's start with thrifting, since that's probably, I think thrifting is a great base. I think that is the best place to start in order to understand how to sell on Amazon and understand like what you're looking for, what books you're looking for, because you can buy books for $2. Where in Colorado it was like $2.50 whenever you actually added everything in there. I was you can get them for that, and then at that point you can sell a book for like $15 and you'll still make some money. So your margins are going to be massive. You're buying a book for $2 and you could sell it for, if you sold it for $30, your ROI is going to be insane. I don't even know. It depends on the weight of the book and everything, but your margins are massive whenever you're doing thrifting because you're buying everything for so cheap. And a lot of room for error there. So if you buy a book for $2 and you never sell it, okay, you lost $2. You know what I'm saying? It's not really a big loss whenever you do it like that. It's really easy to take that risk and go for it. Now, so that's the upsides. You got tons of margins, and you can make mistakes and not really feel it that much. However, there is an issue where if you go in and you buy a book from a thrift store, and say you buy a book that sells really a whole bunch, and then you get an IP complaint, intellectual property complaint, which pretty much means that the author or someone who's selling that book said, hey, this person's not allowed to sell this book, and told Amazon, and now Amazon's flagged your account. Now, usually when that happens, Amazon's going to send you a deal and say, hey, how'd you buy this book? Why are you selling it? We need proof that you're eligible to sell this and you actually bought it, from a legitimate person, which a thrift store is not a legitimate source. They're not going to take a thrift store receipt. Number one, if you look at the receipts, they don't ever really put what book you bought. They just put book, you know what I'm saying, or media or whatever they put. So that's the biggest issue right there with thrifting is, you can get IP complaints. Now, do they happen all the time? No, because most of the time, the books that we're selling don't really get IP complaints. It's very rare that we get those, unless you're actually going for counterfeit books. You're actually going out and searching for them. Then, okay, that's on you, because you also need to get, I think it's 3 or 4 in 6 months or a year or something like that in order to get your account completely shut down. So it's really not a big issue. But thrifting also comes with, time. For me, where I was living in Colorado, I was living in Pueblo, and there is 2 thrift stores there, and one of them's pretty decent, but sometimes it's not. And when it's not, I have to go up to Colorado Springs. So in order to hit a whole bunch of thrift stores, I have to, go all the way up to Colorado Springs, which is a 45-minute drive to the south side, more to the north side. And that's a lot of time that I have to drive. So what I would do is I would drive all the way to the north side and then just hit them as I went down to the south side, all the thrift stores as I went down. So it just takes a lot of time to drive up there, and then it takes time to scan books. And a lot of times when you're scanning a thrift store, you'll be scanning away, and then if you hit like a couple like textbooks and stuff and nothing is hitting out of that first, shelf, you're gonna get a kind of a sense that, okay, someone's either went through this or this is a dud, or the thrift store itself is scanning the books in the back. And then at that point, you've wasted however much time it took you to drive to that thrift store, however much time it took you to scan the books to realize that you're not going to find anything there except for really not like tattered up books or not worth it books or anything. So for me, wasting that time to get that type of margin, which is a great margin, and you are making quite a bit of money, it wasn't worth it to me. I have a family. I've got 3 kids and stuff, So to me, it's not worth that time though. So that's why what I went from was thrifting, and then I went to online arbitrage. I did do bulk buying in there, which I'll get to in the end. Since I don't have as much experience with, I'll save that. But I went from thrifting, and then I went to online arbitrage. I did do a stint in like traditional online arbitrage, which buying like new products and stuff, but that was a horrible experience. I'm not going to do that again. But eventually I found Joji and Victor's strategy of buying books from Amazon to turn around and sell them back on Amazon. And that's because the reason why this works so well is because what I was just saying about thrift stores scanning their own books is right there. A lot of thrift stores now have caught on. They've realized that we're going to their stores and scanning their books. And instead of just letting us take these margins, they're like, you know what? We could do that. We could scan these books, realize that they're worth, $100, and instead of selling it for $2, we could sell it for, $30, and, turn around a pretty good profit because they're getting it for free. They could turn it around and sell it dirt cheap because they don't want to hold stuff. That's their whole model. They don't want to price it too high and and hold on to it for forever. They want to price it really low and get it out the door. So us Amazon to Amazon sellers, we find Goodwill, we find those thrift stores that are on Amazon that are selling it for the $30 price. And we're like, well, hey, I could buy it for $30 and sell it for the actual price of $100 if I just hold it for, a couple months or sometimes less. Then I can turn around and sell it for the actual price. And so that's kind of where we're going to. And not every thrift store is doing this, but a lot of thrift stores, especially in Colorado, they're scanning them. Now you can, if you want to do the thrifting thing, the best thing you can do is backroom access, because then you can get those books before they get to scanning them. But instead, I'm just going to go online. Instead of driving to those stores, I'm just going to go online and pick up those books that they're, selling on those. So I'm still buying from Goodwill. I'm still buying from those thrift stores, but I'm buying them online on Amazon. So my strategy is I'm using bookmine, the software that Joji and Victor have, to find the books that are undervalued from their, price that they've been selling for a while, and they drop off because for a while they've been selling at this price, and then Goodwill gets the book, just given to them for free, and they're like, well, we'll sell it for really cheap so it sells really fast, and then the price drops, and then I buy it really fast like they want. I buy it really fast, I get it, and then I send it back to Amazon and I put it at that price that it was at. You know what I'm saying? So online arbitrage to me is probably the best thing for me, at least, because it time wise, I just got to sit down on my computer and then I'm sourcing. You know what I'm saying? I just have, and so the time, the drive time goes away, the scanning time of all the books kind of goes away. Like, we're still scanning books technically, while as we're like going through the books online. So you still got to spend some time doing that, but that time reduces a lot as you get more experience in doing it this way, and as you gain more experience, you don't have to spend so much time doing it. So that's the biggest thing for me for the online arbitrage, the biggest selling point for me. Now, if you're buying from, if we're going now, like say thrifting, the IP complaint issue. Online arbitrage, if you're buying from Amazon and selling back on Amazon, they will take Amazon receipts. Now, I've had people tell me that, no, they don't always take it. But from some people that I've talked to that have gone through this, I haven't gone through an IP complaint with a book before, but with people who have gone through it that have bought on Amazon and sold back on Amazon and had an Amazon receipt, they told me that it was resolved in less than an hour or a couple hours. It was resolved really fast, because it's like kind of saying like Amazon's coming at you saying, hey, this person says this is, you're not supposed to be selling this book. How did you sell this book? Or how did you buy this book? Did you buy it legitimately? Yada, yada. And if you say, well, yeah, I bought it legitimately. I bought it from you. You're kind of catching them like in a spot. They're like, okay, you bought it from us. All right, you got it. You're good to sell this book. So I think that's the biggest thing that is the biggest selling point for me, is it's kind of a safe method. Now, if you're buying from eBay, different story, completely different story. They're not going to take an eBay receipt. If you're buying from any other site, I don't think that they're going to take it unless you have a legitimate invoice, which I've even heard before that they won't take the invoices sometimes. Amazon's, it's fishy, it's, you don't trust it completely. Don't trust the whole thing completely. But if you're buying from Amazon to Amazon, I think that it's one of the safest ways to sell on Amazon, just because you're buying it from them. And now, as far as the downside for online arbitrage, I would say the biggest downside is you're sacrificing margin. So thrifting, huge margins, huge margins, way bigger ROI than you can get doing almost anything else on Amazon. Now, you got this big ROI with thrifting, then so online arbitrage, you're probably cutting it in half. You still have pretty big ROI, pretty big margins, but your margins aren't going to be as big as thrifting. It's going to be cut in half probably ish, somewhere in there. Depending on your business model, you could only source 100% ROIs, and then you or more, and then you're still doing pretty good with your margin, but your sourcing time starts going up when you do that. So for me, I've been lowering it. I like a 50% ROI, or I'll go down to 30 if I can make $10 of profit, But once I get closer to that 10, I'm not gonna risk it. That's too close to losing money. But that's everybody's business model, their own business model, how they're gonna look at it. So that's one downside of online arbitrage. Let me think of another one here. There's not much downside to it. There is a lot of spreadsheet work, but I feel like that's going to be that way with all the methods of sourcing your books. Tools, they are expensive. I'm spending probably around, I think it's around 500 to 700 a month on tools, and I've bought yearly subscriptions on some of them, so it's even bigger on some of them. So that is one downside, but you're still going to be paying for some tools, the same tools that I'm using right now for online arbitrage. You'll be using some of them for thrifting. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of downside to it. Oh, I guess one downside would be the steep learning curve, because thrifting, pretty self-explanatory. You scan it, the tool that you're using for it will turn green, and then you kind of look a little deeper into it, make sure that it is actually a good book, and then it's pretty easy. Even if you want to just scan and just take all the greens, you'll learn more of like what books are good and what books aren't good as you look at the numbers. Pretty easy to learn thrifting. It won't take you a month to really get it down. Online arbitrage, it takes a while. That's because shipping times, even longer if you're using the prep center, but at the beginning you're not. So, but the shipping times is like you got to buy the book, and then you got to wait for like a week or so for it to get to you, and then once you get it, you gotta box it up. Once you get like 40 pounds, so you might be waiting another week or two for 40 pounds of books to get built up, and then you put that all in a box and you ship it out to Amazon. So you're waiting another week to get to Amazon, and then you're waiting another week to get it checked in. So some books from the time of purchase can take 30 days. Some books can take 60 days before you finally get it checked in, because even once your book gets to Amazon, sometimes they're going to ship it other places, and then it takes longer for that. So that's one downside to it, I would say, is the learning curve takes a while, just because the payoff takes a while. It doesn't, you'll get the book, or you'll buy the book, and you still have a month or two to see if that purchase was good or not, and even then the book will sit for a while. So yeah, I would say the learning curve is steep. It takes a long time. You have to really be committed to the online arbitrage method and see it out for at least a year to start seeing like, okay, now I'm seeing it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe a little less than a year, but you just got to be committed to it for a while. And so that is one downside, I would say. Now for bulk. And like I said, I'm not the biggest experienced in this method. I've done one bulk buy, and I will never do it again. It was not a great experience. I bought it from somebody that I think was already looking through it, type of thing, and whenever I got it, it was already picked through and stuff. So it wasn't a great experience for me. But for bulk buying, I think it's the best way to, I don't know, I guess, to be in a legitimate like business. Because if you're just doing like one or two every month or so, you could probably do it on your own. But man, it takes some time to go through those books, man. If you're getting a Gaylord, which is 1,000 books, or I think that's not 1,000 books. Anyways, if you're getting like a whole bunch of books, 1,000, 2,000 books, and you're scanning through them all, it takes forever to get through them all. And I think your margins are the thinnest, because you're trying to squeeze out as much as you can. So even the books that are just going to get you $1, you're sending it in because you're wanting to get as much, because you're looking at the big number. You're looking at, okay, I bought this whole thing for $200. I need to make $400 to double my profit, or what I'm saying. I don't really know the numbers that well, but I do know that you're looking at the big picture. And man, bulk buying it's a tough one. If you are doing that, you're committed. You know what I'm saying? You're in order to scale with bulk buying, you're looking at hiring people. You're looking at buying a warehouse, and you're looking at doing all this. And man, to me personally, putting that much faith that Amazon won't shut me down, I would never want to do that, because especially with books, and if you're just scanning them and just sending them out, it's really hard to like check every book, you know. And that's really hard to make sure that you're not sending a counterfeit book in or anything. So to me, doing the bulk method is probably the hardest. But it, you know, it's probably the way to get the most money the quickest, I would say, just because you're buying all these books. You don't have to go to the thrift store, but then you still have to scan them. So you're scanning through all these books and you're sending, thousands at a time. So your inventory goes from 0 to a whole bunch, and so you're gonna be getting something back. You're gonna start making sales like quick. Your first month, you'll probably getting, a couple grand in profit back just from shoving Amazon full of books. And especially if it is the actual season. If it's the actual season, like August and stuff, the textbooks and stuff will fly off the shelves immediately. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot of experience with bulk buying, so I can't really give you the positives or negatives of it. But I do know that it's an operation, it's not, and if you're doing it by yourself, man, it takes forever. I did the bulk thing by myself, and it was not fun. If you could get like someone to help you out or something, that's key. But most of us are we're solo in it, and I think that's a good thing. But and I don't know, I wouldn't want to split my profits with people. I wouldn't want to do payroll at the very beginning either. I think bulk buying is something you get into once you've sold on Amazon for a while, you've done thrifting for a while, and you're just like, man, I need to get my inventory up, and I'm struggling by just cherry picking. So I'm just gonna buy a whole bunch at once. I don't know, but yeah, that's about it. If you were asking me what I would do, if just starting out, I would thrift. I would go to the thrift stores, start thrifting, start scanning through all the books, get an understanding of, okay, textbooks sell during this August and January, high school books August, or the whole summer really. Christmas books sell really well, cookbooks sell in January, start getting an understanding of what books sell, an understanding of, how to ship things to Amazon, how to do that. And then I would start adding in online arbitrage. Just keep a subscription. You're gonna need it anyways to really like dive deep into your thrifted books. So get a keep a subscription and start using the Keep a Product Finder or the other one that I forgot right now, and just really start kind of dabbling in on the online arbitrage thing, and then maybe do thrifting and online arbitrage together for a while, and then eventually, once you start understanding online arbitrage, start leaning into that heavy, because time wise, it's you just can't beat it compared to both the other methods. You sit down on your computer and you go. Once you understand what you're looking for, it's really, really one of the best ways to really up your inventory and stuff. It just takes a while. That's the only downside. There's a couple downsides, but one of the downsides is it takes a while. Once you buy the book, it takes a while to ship, to you or to your prep center, and then it takes a while to prep it, and then it takes a while to get to Amazon, and it takes a while for Amazon to get checked in. So it's just a while for the feedback to come to be like, okay, that book was a good book. I want to track that book and try to buy that book again. But with thrifting, there's no tracking books. There's no replens. There's just, we'll see what's at the thrift store today, and start scanning. But yeah, that's about it, guys. That's all I wanted to kind of go over today, just the differences of the sourcing methods and stuff. I think they're all good. You just have to find the one that you like the best and the one that you want to go for the most. But online arbitrage is the best. No. Just my own bias there, of course. But all right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Later.